I've had a crush on you since the first day I saw you at work. Oh, I'm crazy about you. This is so right. Oh my God, this can't be happening to me.
It's happening to both of us. You're right. It's so right.
No, this isn't right. It's all wrong. Not here in the sand. You deserve more than this. You need music. You need flowers. You need candles. You need... You need to get out of here.
This is Tim.
This is Jonathan.
And welcome to the final episode of the Average Podcast's first ever summer vacation series. So welcome back. It's hard to believe, but we've reached the final episode of our summer vacation series. Over the past few weeks, we've journeyed through the wilderness of the great outdoors, danced our hearts out with Dirty Dancing, reveled in the chaos of Camp Nowhere, and unraveled the quirks of State Park. Now we're about to wrap up this sunny journey with a classic comedy that epitomizes the carefree spirit of summer vacations. Weekend at Bernie's. Summer vacations are truly special. They capture the essence of freedom, adventure, and the promise of endless fun. Whether it's a lakeside cabin, a lively dance resort, or a beach party, these vacations create memories that last a lifetime. Through this series, we hope we've managed to capture that vacation feel-good vibe, bringing back fond memories of vacations in your past, and maybe even inspiring some new adventures of your own. Throughout our summer vacation series, we've been joined by the wonderful Ivy Tholen, who has added her insightful perspectives and shared some fantastic behind-the-scenes tidbits. Grab your sunglasses, kick back, and let's dive into the hilarity of Weekend at Bernie's as we bid farewell to this summer vacation series. So, our plot breakdown. I hate to say it. I was new to this one. I'd never seen this movie before, but I'd heard a lot about it. So this was a new one for me. So our plot breakdown. This 1989 comedy classic tells the story of two young employees, Larry Wilson and Richard Parker, played by Andrew McCarthy and Jonathan Silverman, who discover that their boss, Bernie Lomax, played perfectly by Terry Kaiser, is dead. However, they soon realize that they must pretend Bernie is alive to avoid being implicated in his murder and enjoy their beach vacation. As the weekend unfolds, hilarity ensues with Larry and Richard desperately trying to keep up the charade in the most ridiculous situations. So the story this one.
Can I read the summary on IMDb real quick?
Absolutely, please do.
Yeah.
It is. The summary on IMDb is: two idiots try to pretend that their murdered employer is really alive, leading the hitman to attempt to track him down to finish them off. Two idiots and a dead body and a hitman. That's IMDb sums it up well.
It does. It sounds like a great movie.
Yeah.
All right, so diving into our scores, right in on this one. The story of this, the plot of dragging around a dead body is not exactly a new one. Hitchcock directed a movie called The Trouble with Harry. And the trouble with Harry was that he was dead. And it was one of the very few, if not the only, Alfred Hitchcock comedy where people are lugging around. They're lugging around the dead body. Sorry, I was just reading.
It's like a brain fart or something.
It is not close to this movie as far as the structure of the story and how it's told, but just that kind of, we have a dead body, what do we do with it situation has been done before. But this, where I really like it's kind of an intricate story for such a simple movie. The hitman that Bernie hires to take out Larry and Richard, but then they actually take out Bernie, and then there's the romance going on, and how the hitman think they fumbled it and have to follow along, and it's complicated, but it's not at the same time. It's just a lot of fun. It's a clever story. I enjoy the story. I gave it a 4. There's not much like it. This absolutely requires you. We've talked about some suspension of belief when it comes to movies. This movie requires almost from the beginning that you like. It takes place in a parallel world, basically, where people don't react to other people in normal ways whatsoever. And people are fine with that. So it's fine. But I enjoyed this. I give it a 4. I thought it was pretty great on the creativity of the story.
Is it me now?
Yeah. I think you're in the middle there, Ivy.
Okay.
Sandwich.
Okay. This was not a rewatch for me. Fun fact, I saw this in theaters and probably shouldn't have.
Wow. That's awesome.
I saw it with my grandmother. My grandmother loved seeing movies more than anybody in the family, and I could convince her to take me to inappropriate movies. And she would just go along with it because it's a comedy. It's fine.
I love that.
I don't even want to know because I'm not going to do the math, but I should not have been watching this movie in theaters. But I have seen it a couple of times as an adult, not in a very, very, very long time. And when I turned it on and I was about 10 minutes in, I remembered that I tried to watch it about a year ago and couldn't stick with it because it takes 40 minutes for Bernie to die.
Yes.
And I was actually pissed at the movie that it took that long. So by the time that we got to the promise of the premise, I was already like, well, come on, guys. Come on. This movie is too long. I'm going to give the story a 4 simply because the concept is fantastic. Just the idea, the name, like the bare bones of it is so fantastic. That is the only reason this movie is watchable. I just did not vibe with this one at all. And when last week you had a problem with the romance in the great outdoors, oh, do I have a problem with it in this one? Because it is not needed at all, and it is a waste of time. And I actually love Catherine Mary Stewart because she's in Night of the Comet, which is a fantastic movie.
I was going to bring that up later. Yeah, Night of the Comet's a great one.
I've not seen that one.
Fantastic. It's about an apocalypse, and the characters, Joss Whedon used them as the basis for Buffy.
Oh.
So it's like a cheerleader with an Uzi. It's great. She's great. And she's
pretty
really,
great.
really good
in it. Film. Yeah.
But every time she came on screen here, I wanted to turn off the movie because it just slowed to a halt. She's just not.
I had the opposite feeling every time she came on screen.
There is no reason she couldn't have met him at the beach. It didn't have to be some girl from home. They could get them to the beach quicker, get Bernie dead faster, and then he could meet her at that party and want to impress her from then on. Like
instead of that awkward office.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's
a good point.
This might be my highest score out of everything. I'm going to I gave it a 4 because it is a very, very good original story. I will give it that. And they tried, but didn't hit for me. Yeah.
Right on. So, this was a very, very incredible story, as it were. You know, these two knuckleheads who are friends / coworkers, like, just so ridiculous about trying to climb the corporate ladder and like so self-absorbed in their own way about it. And it's just so slapstick that I can't help but love it because I like good slapstick comedy. All the shit that they do throughout this thing is just absurd. Like it seems ridiculous, their behavior, but it pains me to know that there are people who actually act like that in the world. Sad to say, but it's like, damn, dude, everything that goes on between them and just the fact that it's like an insurance scam gone wrong, being discovered, murder plot, they find the body, and then just a massively gross misconduct of handling a dead body. So much gross misconduct.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Of course. Like, oh, dude, it's so messed up. But it was that messed up for me, but still crazy awesome. So I gave it a 5.
Okay.
I'm
It's generous. I like it.
Two fools in insurance.
Hey, listeners. Before we dive back into the wild weekend antics of Weekend at Bernie's, let's take a moment to talk about something just as essential as keeping up appearances with the deceased boss: your podcasting setup. Now, we know that pretending Bernie's still alive takes some serious coordination, just like hosting a podcast. You need the right tools to pull off a convincing charade, or, in our case, a convincing conversation. Luckily, that's where Zencastr comes in. Zencastr is the ultimate podcasting platform designed to make your remote recordings as seamless as a beachfront party at Bernie's house. No need to drag around a lifeless setup. Zencastr breathes life into your podcast with crystal clear audio and HD video recording, all from the comfort of your own space. So why choose Zencastr? Studio quality sound. Get high fidelity sound that makes your podcast sound like it was recorded in a professional studio. No more sounding like you're talking through Bernie's old rotary phone. HD video recording. Record your video podcast in stunning HD quality, ensuring that every expression and moment is captured perfectly, just like the look on Bernie's face. Easy to use. With a simple, user-friendly interface, you won't have to worry about technical glitches ruining your podcast. Zencastr takes care of the details so you can focus on keeping your audience entertained. Built-in tools. Zencastr offers built-in editing tools and separate audio tracks for each guest, making post-production a breeze. It's like having your own personal assistant in a Hawaiian shirt. Special offer for our listeners: to make your podcasting experience even sweeter, Zencastr is offering our listeners an exclusive deal. Head over to zencastr.com and use the promo code AVERAGECUSTOMER, one word, at checkout to get 30% off your first 3 months. Now that's a deal we're celebrating with a beach party. How compelling is the character's arc in the film? Well, Bernie goes from being alive to being dead, so he's got a pretty significant arc. I don't get... Richard has the most arc. I don't think Larry has much of an arc at all, if any. But Richard goes, he's the hardworking one of the two of them, super focused on his job and moving up that corporate ladder. He's the one who finds the embezzlement scheme, and he lies to Gwen basically every time he sees her for the majority of the first 25% of the film. And then towards the end, he, right at the climax says, you know what, I'm just going to start telling the truth. And there's a little bit, maybe I gave it a 2. It's not much on character arc. I'm not really sure what they're supposed to learn as they go through this. So I'm struggling a little bit on exactly the character arc. Like I said, I gave it a 2 because I do think there's a little bit of growth there just for Richard, and he's the only one. But the rest of them, I struggle to really give you, because also by the end of this, I just want to, I had to look it up, but by the end of this, Larry and Richard should be facing quite a few charges. So instead, they just kind of laugh it off. Number 1, they should be facing abuse of a corpse for improperly handling or disposing of a dead body.
And transporting.
Yeah, 2, fraud, wrongfully deceiving someone for personal or financial gain. So by pretending Bernie is alive, They could be seen as committing fraud, obstruction of justice, crime of hindering the work of law enforcement in the justice system, identity theft, failure to report a death, tampering with evidence, trespassing, misuse of emergency services, and disturbing the peace. So they could be facing at least 9 potential charges by the end of this movie, but that's not what this movie is about. I just think that makes it kind of a little bit more enjoyable, if I'm honest.
Did they admit that they knew he was dead the whole time, or did
I
they
don't
try
think
to
so.
pretend like he died from the gunshots?
I think they played it off as like he died because Polly shot him in the
Okay.
chest a bunch of times.
Okay.
You know, so
Forensically,
why
that doesn't work. Forensically, that doesn't work. His heart stopped
No, it
pumping a
doesn't.
long
No, it
time ago.
Yeah, the
All
why
right,
is his
so-
pants not full of shit?
Seriously.
I gave it a 2. I think it's just an okay arc, okay amount of growth for the characters, but I don't think character growth is what this movie's focused on. So
Not at all. I also gave it a 2. I think I would have enjoyed this whole thing a lot more if everybody was over the top and wacky like Polly, Larry, and Bernie are. Like, I think that I cannot
do you have a
stand
problem with
Jonathan
Gwen?
Silverman. I have a problem with Jonathan Silverman, and I think it bled over onto Gwen. I just don't think I like him. Whenever he
That's
started
fair.
talking, because he's also in Girls Just Want to Have Fun,
Mm-hmm.
and I watched that movie into the ground when I was younger, and I never liked him in that. So I think that it just continues, and I don't think he's not leading man enough to be a completely straight guy. He's not wacky enough to fit in with like kind of what I want from this movie. Because if you're going to ask me to believe nothing, like if you're going to ask me to believe rigor mortis doesn't exist, you're going to have to give me some entertaining people on that screen. And I just don't like him. It's not, I'm sure he's a lovely man, or maybe he's not. I don't know. But he just in this movie, I'm just like, you need to just go. You just need to go somewhere else. I don't like the character. I don't like the actor. But I disagree that Bernie doesn't have an arc besides living and dead.
Oh.
Because when he is alive, he's kind of slimy and kind of like,
Yeah.
ugh. But after he dies, he has that little smile smirk on his face the entire time. And he kind of turns into a little scamp. And that's my favorite part of the movie, is the expression that is on his face when he is a corpse. That makes the entire movie for me. So because of
That's
that,
fair.
I gave it 2, but I would have given it a 1 because I hate most of the people in this movie.
So you mentioned Jonathan Silverman, and Andrew McCarthy was originally offered Richard's role, that role. They wanted Andrew for the role of Richard, but Andrew read the script and said he liked the character of Larry and wanted to be Larry.
It's the better part.
It is the better part. So
He gets
Jonathan,
to be goofy, having a blast. So
Well, so I'm in quite the contrast here, and for probably stupid reasons here. But
no, that's okay.
starting
That's
with your
why we
main
do this.
guys, Richard. Yeah, he seems like a nice guy who's trying, but he's still kind of a chode. But Larry takes the friggin' cake for being just a total knob. I mean, I swear to God, such a kind of like an oblivious, self-absorbed kind of turd with the way he acts and like his suggestions with how to handle everything. Like that guy, yeah, he definitely, dude is great as a tool, absolute tool material. And he doesn't really have any growth except validation that what he did was okay and can keep on doing it and whatever. Hence shenanigans in part 2, you know. But aside from that, yeah, Bernie, it's just Bernie. That's weird little OD high at that last moment, you know, before he dies. That it definitely sets precedent for him as a character, even though he doesn't really do shit. He's just manipulated the whole time. And both guys playing him as a puppet, as a marionette. Just insane, but no real growth for those guys. The reason I'm giving it a 4 is because Paulie actually went freaking crazy. He was like so chill, so cool about it. That he's like, oh, I'll have to, it's like he's been used to this before. What has he said? I'm a little rusty, but it'll come back to me. So the way that this kept messing with his confidence and drove him off the rails after multiple attempts, thinking that he was still alive, strangling. Body falls on him, and he's like trying to fight him off, thinking he's still alive, and is choking him until he thinks he's dead again. That's going to mess with you a bit. And then seeing him walking around with the guys, it blew him. And you see him getting walked out by the cops at the end in that straitjacket. He was like, he's not dead. He's actually alive. He's still alive. That man straight cracked. And that, I think, is cool as an arc, even though he's a total, D character in the movie. I think it's just super awesome. Gwen, however,
you make a really good point for him.
Yeah, for sure. But Gwen, dude, what woman in reality, unless she's super desperate, would continue to go with that bullshit? Man, Richard was so weird the whole freaking time with her, except when he's trying to be sweet with the lies. Mm-hmm. And then she just kept, going for that shit. And as far as you know, at the end, they're together. They're a thing, I guess. Or, trauma bonding or who knows what.
Either.
Exactly. You're a pretty hot girl with a family who can go to the Hamptons, and him not so much. And, pretty sure there's a lot of other dudes you could have got with. Man, holy cow. But aside from that, there's just a bunch of weird little side characters that are kind of fun. But yeah, just because Paulie really broke his shit, and then the fact that Vito's girlfriend Tina, who was messing around with Bernie the whole time, the fact that she banged him while he was all angel rod in a corpse, wow, dude, wow. I don't remember what part 2 was like. I remember watching it, but it's been a long time. I hope that comes back around in that. I'd have to watch it again to know, but I hope there's some connect with the mobsters again, so yeah, so that's why I give it 4, just because I just thought that was just ridiculous, but so awesome.
You make a really good point about that arc, but I truly didn't even think about it because he's, like you said, he's a D character. He's not one of the main ones we're watching, but it's cool to watch him kind of unravel every time he sees Bernie. It is a good point. Good point. All right, the music and sound design. This is what I don't have a whole lot to say. This is one that it's functional, good music. It accompanies the scenes well. Nothing really stood out for me. We kind of get a little bit of reggae sounding music. If I was correct, I did see that one guy performs all of the music for the movie. I don't know.
That's cool.
Don't quote me on that. But yeah, I believe I read that. So, but other than that, it suits it. Nothing super memorable. I'm not looking up the soundtrack. Didn't take me out of it. Accompanied the movie just fine. So I give it a 3. It was good.
Rod?
It wasn't bad. It didn't stick out as bad to me. Nothing stuck out as oh God. I wrote down, what is this style of music called? So it's reggae. Are we going with reggae-ish? Is that
it's reggae-ish?
Yeah, it's reggae-ish. It's not. They don't really double down on it or anything. It's just kind of
Jamaican, Caribbean-ish.
Yeah. What does that have to do with the Hamptons?
I know, right?
That
island music. It's just island music. That's all it is. Just island music, party time.
But I was thinking about it, and they could have done some fun stuff with Bernie. They could have had some more, when I know there's one part where they crack his neck and you kind of really hear it.
Oh God, I totally forgot about that.
They could have done some sounds there with the body. That's one of my biggest problems. We'll get into it later, but they could have used what they had more than what they did. If that makes any sense. I feel we could have had some really visceral sounds like that neck again. He's got fingers. He's got other bones. He's got squishiness. I don't know, but I give it a 2. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just mediocre. And I'm mad about this movie. So I gave it a 2.
It's a missed opportunity.
It is. That's exactly what it is. Yes.
I can dig it. I'm dialing this one in at 3. It was good overall, serviceable. Sounds like in that kind of island Caribbean reggae sound stuff. It had its parts, and all of the sounds that you get in the city in New York. Very lively street sounds. Everybody moving around. Really went well to the scenery. For me, though, it's when they're on the boat, on Bernie's boat, Premiums, and Bernie falls off, and they're going between those buoys, and you hear his body, ding, ding, and they're like, what's that sound? And they're like, oh, man overboard. And Larry's so casual, but, oh, man overboard. Whatever. No big deal. It's just a dead body trailing behind us, whatever. But hearing those dings on those was pretty cool. I thought that was good, for the comedy bit.
The fun fact about that, I thought for sure that scene was a dummy, but that's a stunt double for Larry Kaiser.
What?
Yep.
Yeah. That's a stunt double. He broke quite a few ribs during that scene. But yeah, that's all a stunt double. I was amazed.
That's some real dingy.
Early on, I thought, oh, yeah, that's a real person. But by the end of it, when it got really ridiculous, I was like, there's no way. Seriously, though. Wow.
And you're right. That does sound really good. But yeah, I was amazed that was a stunt double, honestly.
Yep. And then, like I was saying, there's definitely some missed opportunities because, with how the body's going to stiffen up and the rigor mortis and how that stuff's going to be hard to move, that definitely could have done a lot. But with I know there's that whole suspension of belief, and that kills me in this because at some point, where's the farts from the dead body? Where's the dead body farts? Okay, where's the he shit his pants? Oh, his bowels finally released. Yeah, where's all that? Where's the bloating from floating around in the water? I want to hear him like farting up out of the water or something. Well, I thought that would have been pretty rad.
Even that scene of him in the water, I think like by the very next scene, he's dry again. So the continuity of this isn't what we're here for. That wasn't their goal.
Yeah. But yeah, we should have had some farts, man.
Yeah. Well, that can lead. Did you give your number?
3.
Okay. Well, that can lead right into the editing and special effects. It's a straightforward comedy film. There's not a lot of special effects. Probably the biggest one we talked about is having the stunt double dragged behind the boat. That's not really special effects. That's stunts, but I'm going to count it in this. That's impressive. But there's next to no special effects to talk about. And the editing is just good. It's not super clever editing. I keep thinking, when I think of clever editing for a comedy film, Jonathan and I have UHF coming out next, and that had some clever editing. Okay, that is clever editing. This is just put together well. So you can watch the movie, it makes sense. The editing's fine. I gave it a 3. It was good editing.
I originally gave it a 2, but since I am also going to lump the water ski scene in with this, I'm going to bump it up to a 3. I think Bernie being shot is the only one where they actually have like real something happening. I don't recall there being, because he gets injected with something, so the body there's nothing there. But other than that, there's nothing. So looping in stunts, I'll give it a 3 solely for that scene because it's fantastic, and knowing it's a real person, my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys pretty much hit it on the nose, most of that. No real effects to speak of. I like the scene transitions. I like how paced it was through each scene. I don't know, man. I don't really have much to say about it. I'll just kick it out of 3. It was just a general good area.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Not a whole lot to say in that department. So on to the script. I think the script, we've kind of hit on it. It's both. I thought there were moments where it was really clever and worked really well. And then there were other moments that felt a little bit clumsy, or like we were missing opportunities for humor. I have a really hard problem scoring comedies, period. But when it comes to scripts, because I don't know if it's just me or what, but I don't watch comedies that often. And I definitely don't watch them alone. And because I just don't find them funny alone. It's kind of that other person there laughing that creates the enjoyment for it.
Yeah.
It's like why sitcoms have laugh tracks. it's a group effort for comedies, much like seeing a comedy in the movie theater with other people laughing is probably the peak way to see a comedy. I'm just not going to buy a movie ticket for one. Just like I love going to a horror movie that has a pretty well packed theater to hear the gasps and the screams. The difference is I can watch a horror movie on my own and still enjoy it. I can enjoy a comedy, but I'm not going to laugh at it. I'm watching it for the story. And I found myself doing that with this one. I was like, oh, that's a clever line, but I'm not laughing. You know, I said the same thing about Great Outdoors. There were maybe 3 or 4 times that I chuckled. I actually, out of all of these, I think I laughed the most at Camp Nowhere. I actually laughed out loud a couple times because kids doing stupid stuff is funny. But I don't know. So that makes it scoring the script hard for me, because I do think it would change if I was sitting with a group of people watching this, and I'd be like, oh yeah, that does elevate the humor a little bit. But as is, thought it was clever. At a lot of scenes, I thought a couple scenes were really clumsy. Like, I don't understand why we had the kid there burying Bernie, and then he pops in the house and has the gun. Did I miss who that kid is or where he went or what all that was about? Like, there's just some there's some questionable things. And like you said, Gwen keeps coming back. Why does Gwen keep coming back? It's not that he is such a catch that she would want to come back. So there's a lot of in the script that I wish was a little better. I hate tearing down the movie because I didn't hate it. So, but yeah, I just thought the script was good. I gave it a 3.
Wow.
Sorry.
I think that every single one of my problems with this movie is in the script, even though Jonathan Silverman is over there. I was literally pausing it to check the timestamps to see where we were. Like, I have a serious problem with the fact that Bernie dies at 37 minutes, and then it is 39 minutes while they are manipulating the body. They play with his body for 2 full minutes before realizing this dude is dead. It's too much. It's not right.
It's comedy.
First of all, it should have been an hour. There's no reason for this movie to be longer than 90 minutes. The sequel is an hour and 28 minutes long. Perfect length. This one is far too long. Takes far too long to get to the point. I want to see a dead body in 15 minutes. I'm not kidding. And they make me wait for it. I'm not kidding. I truly believe that there is a
slasher author in you.
Exactly.
I want the dead body in the first 15 minutes.
I do. If you are telling me that you're going to give me 2 dudes puppeting around a dead body, you need to deliver on that. I think there's an excellent horror comedy here somewhere, but the people who made it didn't find it. Like, I think that some of the jokes write themselves, and I think that it just didn't want to commit. It never wanted to commit to how ridiculous this premise was. We don't have Bernie degrading in any way, shape, or form. He's always looks fresh as a daisy. We don't have, like... There's a couple of little bits where people act like lunatics, like when Tina has the knife and she's just like threatening them with it whenever she's like, "Where's Bernie?" right before she goes upstairs. And I'm kind of curious if Kevin Smith got the idea for Clerks from this. Fucking a dead guy in the bathroom. I'm a little bit curious if that's because whenever that started, that was exactly where my mind went. I was like, is this what inspired Clerks? But that's,
Was
better
Clerks
in
like
Clerks.
91?
It's better in Clerks. Yeah, Clerks is 91 or 92.
Okay.
It's better done in Clerks. It's funnier there. I don't think Tina ever even finds out what she did, which is kind of strange.
That would have been a hilarious reveal.
My notes here are like, why is the pool heated? It looks really warm out. Like somebody brags about the pool being heated. Somebody's named Tawny. You don't hear that name outside the 80s. Like, these are my notes. Like, this is what I was thinking about when I was watching this movie instead of enjoying this movie. So because I see so much promise here and it was just squandered. I gave it a 1. Come on, y'all. There's some good stuff here. There really could have been a super fun movie. And it's just, the reality is that I like the idea of Weekend at Bernie's more than I like actual Weekend at Bernie's. So.
Ooh, that's a good observation.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the body degradation, and then it reminded me there was a movie recently. Well, not recently in my memory. It's almost 9 years ago now, or almost 8 years ago now. Swiss Army Man. With Daniel Radcliffe.
I never watched that.
That is a fantastic movie.
I've been meaning to watch it for a long time. I just ain't got around to it.
Yeah, he's dead in that, isn't he? I never saw it.
He's a farting corpse. He is a farting corpse. And someone makes a sailboat out of him. It's amazing.
See, farting corpses. This is so much in the farts.
But it's also like a beautiful moving film. So they did something with that one. They didn't do anything here.
All right, Jonathan, bring us back up with that praise. Sandwich.
Yes.
Okay, so, I mean, you can't really expect much from script for a comedy. There's not going to be a lot of long, deep, meaningful dialogue and stuff like that.
You don't want it necessarily.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. But despite that, there's a lot of like half-ass one-liners that are kind of okay, kind of some of them fall kind of short. But I really liked it. One part where when they find out that Bernie's dead, everything where they were manipulating the body for like 2 minutes, all that stuff. Where he's like, man, what kind of host invites you to his house for the weekend and then dies on you? You know, stuff like that. And then, when Richard and Gwen were on the beach and Bernie's body washes up next to him and she doesn't notice, but he does. He's like, I can't believe this is happening. And she's like, it's happening to the both of us. You know?
Yes.
In those throws of passion, I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. If she just looked to turn her head over, like, oh my God, yeah, she would definitely be like, yep, that's a dead guy. He wasn't kidding around, you know, like, holy shit. Yep. But other than that, you know, for a comedy, as kind of paced as everything was, I gave it a 3. I thought it was 3 worthy. Yeah.
Okay. So onto the acting. This is one that I actually have much more praise for, and it's not Richard. It's not Silverman in this. I thought he was fine. It is much to do with Andrew McCarthy as Larry is pretty fantastic and kind of a scene stealer in every scene he's in. And I was wishing he was in more of it. I really liked him. But Terry Kaiser as the dead body of Bernie deserves praise. Because yes, this is the suspension of belief. Like, yeah, we should be dealing with a degrading body and rigor mortis and all that, but we're not. What we're getting is this limp noodle of a human that somehow sometimes keeps his neck up. Actually, most of the movie, he keeps his neck up in a natural position while the rest of him flops around. I don't know. But the physical comedy that Terry Kaiser pulls off throughout, and he plays off the scummy boss at the beginning. Terry kills it in this movie. I think he's fantastic playing the dead body. He was so funny in it. I liked Terry Kaiser a lot because of him playing the dead body pretty, I don't want to say convincingly because it's not convincing, but like, I don't see him moving his arms without them first doing something. I don't see him correcting his posture. He bought into the idea that he is their puppet. He bought into it and he delivered on it. I gave it a 4. He does a great job. He takes the rest of the acting, which was good, and he brings it up just a notch because he delivers very satisfyingly. If we're not going to have the fart jokes or like breaking bones or body parts falling off, he's not that dead. He does a good job. He almost reminded me of Dick Van Dyke in his kind of just the way he moved. Dick Van Dyke was always very animated and good at that kind of slapstick. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I definitely saw a little bit of that in just the way Kaiser moved. I liked his performance a lot, so I give it a 4.
I also think that he makes the movie 110%. He doesn't even do anything, and he makes the entire movie. The little smirk is fantastic. It just is. I just love his little like. I just do. I don't know why. It tickled me every time he was on screen. And yeah, Andrew McCarthy is fantastic, but also Polly the Hitman. I looked at him and I was like, where do I know this man from? Who is this guy? Why do I know him? I looked him up. He is in Return of the Living Dead, one of my favorite movies of all time. Oh. And I did not notice it was him. Yes. You're realizing it, aren't you, Tim?
Yeah. Because I love that movie.
He's the coroner or mortician or whatever he is.
I don't like zombie movies.
Like the same person. You've never seen it?
Jonathan?
Have you never seen it?
Oh, I've seen it. Yeah.
Have you seen it, Tim?
No. Yeah. I love that movie. I was about to say don't like zombie movies, but I like that movie. So
that's my favorite zombie movie.
Yes.
But he's a completely different character, and I think that's pretty impressive because it's two goofy, stupid characters in two goofy, stupid movies. And he was another one when he was cracking up. Huh?
My mind is blown. I'm just trying to process.
It's gonna be on tape. It's gonna be okay, Tim.
I'm literally wearing a Return of the Living Dead T-shirt right now.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, if I've seen that movie a million times and didn't recognize him immediately, just saying. So 3 for those 3 gentlemen in particular. There's a couple of the house party guests that were pretty wacky and fun. I just wish there'd been more of that.
Those two bodybuilders.
Yes. They were total. I'm almost positive they were supposed to be almost Hans and Franz ripoffs from SNL.
Oh, dude.
So, yeah, but it's a 3. I don't blame any of the actors for this except Jonathan Silverman.
There's a lot bringing up the party characters. There's a lot of those fun little characters, like the guy who keeps trying to buy Bernie's his boat, and he just randomly pops up, and I'm like, man. It's very familiar. You kind of know somebody who's like that, who harps on this one thing and won't let it go. And then those bodybuilder guys that were total characters, cracking the dead guys, like, man, Bernie, you feel loose. I don't think I've ever felt you this loose. And the two people having a discussion on if Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson were secretly married, and just like it's great. That party setup is one of my favorite parts of the movie because it's pretty well thought out throughout that scene. But Jonathan, what you thought of the acting?
Yeah, dude. With that party scene, man, it's crazy that you're in a place where they have what's called a floating party, where it just goes house to house. They came in like a tidal wave, and then kind of rolled out the same way out of nowhere. But with all those different characters, like you were talking about with the editor and the author, and then the one random guy's like, "What's the book about?" She's like, "Oh, it's about it's about Dr. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson being secretly married." And I'm just like, okay, that's some odd stuff. And then like you're talking about the guy trying to buy the thing off him, just a bunch of other random oddballs. And then that little asshole kid, or listed as the bratty kid in credits, that kid did a great job of being a spoiled little rich shit who thought he could do whatever he wants, just running around the place being nutbag.
True.
So great for him. But yeah, Jonathan Silverman and Andrew McCarthy, man, Andrew McCarthy being Larry, yeah, dude, he did a great job of just being kind of a dumbass and being kind of a turd. Jonathan Silverman, he's definitely more of, he's not a leading guy thing. He's definitely more of a B character, but he gave kind of a meh medium performance. That was, I wouldn't say it was anything special. All the other random people running around though, I mean, just it felt kind of cool, like a crazy fun time island, it seemed kind of believable. So everyone overall seemed to have kind of like some sense of realism to a bunch of rich people in the fucking Hamptons who like to party it up and go crazy on an island, But I gave it a 3. Yeah.
Okay. So on to the direction. This is another one with comedies. I think they're either I don't know of how many bad directed comedies I've seen. I've just seen directed comedies. Like, they work, they're made, it's okay. But this is directed by Ted Kotcheff, who actually directed First Blood, Rambo's first movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was a little bit surprised by that. That's why there is a Rambo reference in the film. But yeah, he directed this movie. He directed, I mean, this is really, those two are his most known. He did do Fun with Dick and Jane, but not a whole lot else that I really know personally. It's just well directed. It's nothing visually stunning, nothing structurally stunning. I mean, I'm totally with Ivy on it takes way too long for Bernie to die, but I think we could have rushed that along. But yeah, it's just well directed for a comedy film. I think if it wasn't, this movie would have been totally forgotten about and passed over since it was made. It's still around, so I think that speaks to some quality on his part. But I give it a 3. I thought it was good.
I give it a 3 as well because it's serviceable. There's nothing bad. There's nothing good. It's just fine. It feels like a mid-tier theatrical release comedy from that time. It doesn't feel like it was something that went direct to video or anything like that. So I think that's the best you can hope for if you're directing a comedy. So I don't see any reason not to give it a 3. He didn't write it.
First off, I just want to say, I don't know about you, Ivy, but have you been watching Tim's TV?
I've been trying not to.
I noticed it. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's what's going on.
Added it today. It's the movie.
Yeah, I know. It's awesome, dude. They were just they just went by the pool that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I like that.
Just dressed up, trying to continually dressing up the room.
I can dig it. But with the direction, I liked how there was a lot of setup for a lot of the slapstick. It seems like kind of minimal stuff that you don't really notice, but like when they're on the roof, when they discover the scam and the numbers for the checks, like Larry's running around everything, and there's just like hot tar on the roof that's sticking to everything, getting on everything, get on him. And then like how that leads to them in the office later, and then Bernie getting it on him, so like seeing everything, being like, "What the hell is this?" You know. And then with it being a dead body, you just know that him being on a gurney, there's gonna be some kind of joke there, and then it hits when the truck backs up, pops, and then out comes Bernie rolling down, and then his body flops onto the beach behind Richard, Larry, and Gwen, unbeknownst to them. They're like, "What?" Oh, you know. There's a lot of good little setups like that for the comedy in there, and I had a lot of bit of appreciation for that. And the way they went about that scene with the boat, like almost hitting everybody and knocking people off stuff, and then just dragging the body to the water, I thought it was just fantastic sequencing on that. I liked a lot of what was going down in this film, and then like a lot of the shots and how they went around when Polly comes back and is chasing them around the house. And a lot of the angles that you get from some of the overheads on the catwalk and then the stairways and everything throughout the rooms, I thought was really good. So I gave it a 4.
Okay. So the it factor for this movie, this is one, man, we're moving right along. This is about to be our shortest summer vacation movie. It's a weird one because I thought, well, I'll get to the final thoughts. And the it factor has a lot to do with my final thoughts. This was a movie that I think both of you mentioned when I brought up Summer Vacation. Mm-hmm. It was Jonathan's pick. But I think, Ivy, you mentioned it to me as well. But it's also one of those movies that when it's brought up, people remember it. And most of them love it or remember loving it. So it's one that kind of had this hype for me, which increased its it factor for me. But it also was a successful movie. It doubled its budget at the box office. It was good enough to warrant a sequel that didn't do near as well. But it was pretty successful. And still today, if you were to mention Weekend at Bernie's, most people have positive, fond memories of this film. So going into that, I actually gave this a 4 for the it factor because other than some critic reviews, didn't see a whole lot of negative going into this movie. It was a movie that it's out there, people know about it, and usually they have good things to say about it. So I gave it a 4.
I clearly felt duped by the whole thing because I thought I liked this movie a whole lot more than I actually do. And I kind of wonder because it's been so long and it's not like this is something that everybody's like, let's whip it out and watch it once a year. But clearly you knew the premise, did you not? Even if you hadn't seen the movie, you knew the general idea.
Yep.
And I think I'm just curious if people genuinely are endeared by the film or if they enjoy the meme of it all. You know what I mean? Because I was looking at trivia as well, and like one of the things I saw was it's Rachel Green's favorite movie on Friends, and the way that it comes up is they're doing a trivia contest, and somebody's asked what's Rachel's favorite movie, and somebody else says Dangerous Liaisons, and somebody else goes what's Rachel's actual favorite movie, and they say Weekend at Bernie's. Like it's good for stuff like that. It's good for using as a verb to weekend at Bernie's someone. Like we all know what that means. But is everybody really all in
memes about it?
You keep your mouth shut.
I've seen some memes about it lately, but
you keep your mouth shut.
I'm not going to get political.
You don't have to. We all know. Everyone knows. It's July 2024. Everyone knows. Whenever anybody watches this in the future, it's July 2024. Google it. But I did give it a 4.
At Biden's.
Oh God.
Anyway, okay.
Jonathan got it.
Yeah. I gave it a 4. So I think that it's been 35 years. There's something there probably. So people remember it. People who've never seen it know what it is. That's pretty impressive. It got a sequel. I turned it on after I watched this. I didn't super pay attention to it, but the things you were wishing were there are not there. But there is a really fun dance where they use voodoo to resurrect Bernie in a toilet.
Oh, how interesting.
There's your toilet.
And I'm pretty sure that's not culturally accurate voodoo either.
No.
But
No.
it's 80s 90s movie voodoo. So
Yeah. And somehow Jonathan Silverman is worse in that one. They like double, triple down on the sliminess. And I think there's 3 years between filming and he kind of looks older and really, really tan. So I have no idea, but it's supposed to be like right after the first one.
And it's clearly not.
No, not at all.
Okay, so I don't know. It's hard for me to think much about It Factor so much as like the whole fact of like that being the late 80s and how big, people kind of like there was kind of a boom in the 80s and, everyone was on the credit card kick and big finance and trying to live a high lifestyle. And with it being kind of the first set in New York and then into the Hamptons, it kind of gives that picture of the 80s, that ideal image that people are like, oh, I want to be, rich. I want to make a lot of money. I want to do this. I want to be popular within a company. I want to be successful, and then they kind of show that with Bernie, even though he's secretly kind of a slime bag with this scam that's going on and his involvement with the mafia and with New York's history of the mafia. And then still seeing this in the late 80s that there's some sense of, even as comedy, that there's some kind of tie and connection with scams and what's going on with mafia there is kind of cool. Kind of gives it a little bit of presence that way, But then you look at how, like, you go out to this island where even though Bernie's a scumbag, all these people love him. They think he's just super fantastic. He's one of those high up top guys that everyone looks up to and it's like, oh, they're either to kiss his ass or they're going to be a friend of his who's also super rich and just going to be off doing whatever laissez-faire, just doing their thing. And then just, people see people with that drive to try and drive the corporate ladder, jump the corporate ladder through whatever means. 80s was kind of cutthroat for that kind of thing. And people just wanted to climb the ladder and doing whatever you got to do to get there. So even with that, with the goofiness of it, I still gave it a 3 on It Factor.
Okay.
Yeah.
We keep mentioning Silverman, and I just have to say, when I was watching it, I actually had to Google. He reminds me of a young Jason Schwartzman, who I also don't really care for him. and that's why I was like, is this young? It's definitely not.
I like
obviously.
Jason Schwartzman better than him.
I do too.
Yeah.
But I agree that Jason Schwartzman is a little bit scummy. Yeah.
Yeah. Too bad.
Yep. They gave me the same feelings. So
Is he
the
related to Sarah
overall
Silverman?
I meant to Google that. I'll do it now.
Okay,
I thought about
that's
it
a good
earlier
question.
today, and I was like,
I could see him being related. So while you do that, I'm going to go ahead and talk about how entertained I was. So
No relation.
been pretty critical.
oh, damn.
No relation.
No relation.
Been pretty critical of the movie, I feel, so far, but I gave this a 7 out of 10. I did enjoy the film. Like I said, I struggle with comedies watching it alone. My wife fell asleep through our first watch. I fell asleep through the second watch, but I enjoyed it. It is too long for what this film is. It takes way too long to get there, but I enjoy specifically Andrew McCarthy's character. I enjoy some of the antics with Bernie. So I had fun with that. I enjoy this setting. And if we're talking a summer vacation movie, a movie that makes us want to go somewhere or remind us of a vacation that we had, this movie does it for me. You have a beach vacation here. You have getting away to a place that's better than where you live for a good time. And so this film does that for me. And I think the difference with this one is it's not quite as comforting as The Great Outdoors is. It's not that family feel that we have. This one is a good background film for me. This is one that every now and then I might sit down and watch, but like Ivy has said, the idea of it, I think, is better than the movie itself. But I enjoy the ride. It's not a 10 out of 10. I'm not going to watch this again immediately. It's going to be a minute before I watch it. But it's one that I might put on in the background for something because it's one that you tune in, tune out. It's fine. You don't really need to see everything if you've seen it once. So it's a 7 out of 10 for me. I did enjoy it, but it's not my highest enjoyment level.
My biggest takeaway is that I'm extremely surprised nobody has ever tried to remake this thing. Because it seems like the exactly what somebody would try to remake, redo, repackage, and sell it to people.
I actually looked that up.
Yeah, I did too, because I was like, did it happen and I missed it? Because that happens sometimes. There's an Adventures in Babysitting remake that happened. Never knew about that.
What?
Like there's things. Yes, Sabrina Carpenter plays the babysitter. Is a very like child watching child situation. It's several years old.
Watching child situation.
Yes, and there was another one like, don't tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. They just remade that.
Yeah. Love that movie.
They just
Like,
redid that?
Yeah, it just happened, and I had no idea it happened, and I saw that it was like out, and I went, "Who made that? Why?"
I don't know if I want to see that.
I haven't bothered to look at it. I threw the Adventures in Babysitting one on the background. It was fine, but not the original. The original's a fantastic movie. So with movies like those being remade, I am really surprised nobody's ever remade this, or that there isn't something in development or anything like that. There doesn't seem to be. I would welcome it personally. I gave How Entertaining, I gave it a 6, but the idea of watching it, I give an 8. I would love a better version of this movie. Someone remake it, please. Please.
I think it's definitely this idea that can be expanded on, kind of play into that horror comedy of having a dead body and the horror that comes with that. And leaning into that more, I actually think that's hilarious. I have a much darker sense of humor than this movie provides, apparently.
Yes. That's exactly, I think, what the problem is for me, is that I want a dead body doing fun stuff, and I don't feel like I fully got that. And I would once again like to ask, what did this offer to a little girl in preschool to watch this movie? Why did I see a poster for this and say, Grandma, can we go see that? That's what you have to ask yourself. Something's
It's
wrong
very
with me.
colorful. The poster is very colorful. It's intriguing.
I know myself well enough to know it was the dead guy.
Somebody buried in sand. Oh my God.
There was a dead body. I know that's what did it. But 6, 7, 6 could have been an 8, is a 6.
Okay.
Well, if I were a teacher, I would make high school kids watch this because I think it'd be fun to watch their expressions and to see their interpretations of it and to see who would get offended. I think it would be awesome. But definitely, I think it'd be cool if they were to take this film and do a theater showing of it, and it'd be kind of a fun date movie for that kind of situation if they did that. But I mean, I think it's pretty rad. I always enjoyed it. I see it a little differently, having watched it again recently versus when I saw it when I was a kid. But I still thought it was still a pretty kick-ass film, so I rock it at an 8. You know.
Yeah.
I'd definitely watch it again and again. It'd just be here and there, space it out once in a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Ivy said, like earlier, like whipping it out once a year to watch it.
We're all pretty close. We're 6, 7, 8. We're right there together. Final scores, final thoughts. My final score, I'm a 33 out of 50. So I am 3.5 stars. Or if I do the little thing on our Instagram and double check where 33 actually lands, 31 to 35 means it's a good film. And I would agree for my overall assessment. I think it's a good film. Like I said, I probably will put this on in the background. This is one that I wouldn't mind owning, honestly. I feel like
it is in the background.
It is just one that kind of, I can see it scratching an itch that happens every once in a while. So, yeah, I mean, that's my final thoughts. We've kind of gone over. I think it misses some good opportunities, but it does provide some reason to come back. I enjoyed it. So 33 or 3.5 stars out of 5 for me.
Boosh.
On that scale, what is 28? Because that's what I have.
28 moves you down a bracket to just okay. 26 to 30 is an okay film.
Yeah, I'll give it that. It's not bad. I wouldn't be like, do never watch this. This is a nightmare to sit through. I would say fast forward through the first 40 minutes. Like, that's the movie you want, is what happens after the first 40 minutes. So that would be my suggestion. But yeah. Or
get to the scene where they tell Bernie about the fraud, and then fast forward to Bernie's house.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right on. So I'm sitting at the highest point of everyone here. I'm hitting at a 37.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is also, I think you are one bracket ahead of me in the 36 to 40 range at great. Yeah, I'm curious about the second one. I gotta be honest, especially since it got much worse reviews. I like watching the train wreck. Do
honestly, I feel like I would have, if I had actually been paying attention based on what I was seeing, I think I would have enjoyed part 2 more, but it's definitely a worse movie. And it's weirder, but that's probably why I like it, because I like bad, weird movies. So
yeah, I love bad, weird movies.
That one seems more like it was willing to embrace the idea of we have a dead guy. So
okay,
if that's what you want, maybe that is what you want to watch.
I think it's awesome that, in the background at the point where Gwen and Richard are on the beach and they're about to be all up on each other when Birdie floats by.
keep your eye out on that. You're going to see what we talked about earlier.
He would smell from just being in the ocean alone.
He's going to be dried off. He'll be dry the next scene.
Have you been in the ocean, sir, and then gotten out and dried off? You still stink.
Here's one thing I forgot to mention earlier. after the whole fight and struggle with Polly and everything that went on, Larry looks like he's fresh, just freshly cleaned up. His hair is perfect, no sweat, no dirt, nothing. Like he looks totally fine. Like he wasn't just in a fight for his life. What the hell, man?
You mentioned that, but also when his toupee falls off and they staple it back on, and then the very next scene, his hair is totally perfect again. I was hoping that sight gag would keep going of his hair looking terrible, but again, another missed opportunity.
It is a missed opportunity. They could have just let him out of the water skiing with a broken nose, and they could have had to continue fixing his nose over and over again.
That toupee could have come off and hit somebody in the face.
There could have been. They could have really, really, really used it. They just didn't. I'm very sad.
This movie is sadder than anything else. Our combined scores give us an average of 32.66666 or 33, which is a good film for a group situation. I think I'd agree. I actually think watching this with a group would improve my score of it.
Yes.
I don't know. I haven't done that, but I do think group situations would improve the film. So that's it for us. Any other thoughts? Any last things?
Nope, I'm good.
I'm
not mad I watched it.
All right. So before we say goodbye, we want to hear from you. Did you enjoy our summer vacation series? This is the first time we've done anything like this. Would you like us to bring it back next year with a new lineup of films? Your feedback means the world to us, and we'd love to know your thoughts. So let us know in the comments. Reach out to us on social media with suggestions and feedback. Also, use that link in our bio to provide your own scores of the movies. And if there's a particular movie you think would be perfect for next year's series, we're all ears. Thank you for making this series as fun as it has been. Ivy, thank you for being with us. We hope these episodes brought a little bit of sunshine and nostalgia into your day. Until next time, keep the spirit of summer alive, and we'll see you soon for more fun, laughs, and exciting adventures. Have a fantastic rest of your summer. Subscribe, like, and follow us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify to stay updated on all of our upcoming episodes and content. In 2 weeks, back on our every 2-week schedule, we will see you with Weird Al's UHF.
And I have a sudden craving for Arby's curly fries. Yeah. UHF.
Woo!